All right, folks, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I am Santi Cuellar. I am the Senior Manager of Solutions Marketing here at Fusion Connect. Before we get started, I just want to go over some housekeeping rules. First of all, today's webinar will include a Q&A. In fact, it's that chat section that you see over to the right. Feel free to enter your questions there. We will review them at the end of the presentation. And also, we are recording this session, so you'll be able to replay this in the future or share it with somebody. But today we're going to cover 4 topics. And here's the first one. The first one is what today's customers want and the importance of anticipatory customer service and customer experience. That's the first topic we're going to cover. The second topic is the myth of artificial intelligence, or AI, and how you can take advantage of AI with your employees in the driver's seat. The third point we're going to cover today is how to elevate the human element in your organization's strategy. And then the fourth point we're going to cover is strategies to improve your customer communications to surprise and delight your clients. I am joined today by Micah Solomon and Rod Brownridge. Micah, say hi.
Hi.
Rod, go ahead and say hello.
Hello.
Let me tell you a little bit about Micah. Micah Solomon is a customer experience and customer service consultant and trainer and a best-selling author. In fact, those are some of the books that he's written right behind him there. Yes, there it is. Micah has been called the new guru of customer service excellence by the Financial Post, by your mom and the Financial Post. His techniques have been featured in publications as Fast Company, Wall Street Journal, and Inc. magazine. Recently, Micah Solomon authored, hold that book up again, Ignore Your Customers and They'll Go Away. There it is, which has been recognized as one of the groundbreaking customer service books of recent years. I'm going to tell you a little secret about Micah. He's an entrepreneur. Yeah, he's an entrepreneur. And because he's an entrepreneur, he was one of the early investors of the technology that we all today call Apple Siri. So next time you ask Siri a question, remember Micah Solomon was one of those early investors. So thank you for that.
Or you don't mean to ask her and she answers anyway.
Exactly. And let me tell you a little bit about Rod Brownridge. So Rod, he's one of our own. He is a senior vice president of customer service here at Fusion Connect. Rod has more than 20 years of expertise in operations, engineering, and customer experience. He leads an award-winning customer success team at Fusion Connect with a focus on providing a frictionless experience. I want to thank you both for joining me today. It's a true honor to be in your presence. How's that? And to spend this time with you. We're going to dive right into this. And we're going to start with the first question. And I'm going to ask Micah to start to lead with this question. Micah, what is it? What today's customers want, right? And the importance of anticipatory customer service and customer experience. Can you tell us about this?
Well, first I want to thank Fusion Connect for putting this together, and Allison and Rose behind the scenes, and Ruzana, and of course you, Santi. And it's an honor to be here with Rod as well. So the basic customer service agreement, I guess, is that a customer asks for something and you provide it for them. If it's something they should pay for, then they pay. However, it's hard to distinguish yourself in a crowded marketplace by providing that level of service, because it's easily imitated at your competitors, and your customers may actually forget who they bought from, or they may be tempted by an introductory offer at another company. So your hope as a business is to become decommoditized, let's say, if we want to use some jargon. And one of the great ways to do that is to provide an anticipatory customer experience. So this is when your service is so on point that you are providing what the customer wants before they've maybe even thought that they need it, and certainly before they've asked for it. You're answering customer questions before they've even been voiced. And if you can provide this level of service, you can truly distinguish yourself in one of the few arenas where we have a chance these days to be distinctive.
Yeah, I'd add to that, Micah. I think the more data you get about a customer, the more data you have in regards to that customer, the better chance you have of being anticipatory, right? You know more about why the customers are calling you, what they do as an organization, as a business. You have an opportunity there to leverage that information to provide that excellent level of customer service that they just don't expect when they call into their providers.
Absolutely. So it can be provided either by empathetic people using this data, or it can even be provided by on a self-service level as well, which we'll get into later.
Well, thank you
Back
for
to you,
this, gentlemen.
Santi.
Thank you. I will tell you that I have experienced anticipatory customer experiences, and they're absolutely mind-blowing. In fact, there's a specific retailer that I was literally kicked out of this place, like removed by somebody.
Oh, because what, they knew you were a looter or what?
Somebody with poor customer experience and lack of empathy, right? And so, but because they made such an effort to deliver on that anticipatory, where they know me by name, they know the things I like, they're making it for me even as I walk through the door. I can't ever leave this place. They've captured me, right? And so
Wait, back up to the kicked out part.
It was a situation where I was on the phone, and a customer service rep asked me if I'm going to place my order, and I told him absolutely as soon as I'm done with my text. And he literally told me, "Well, you can't text in here. You need to go outside and do so." And I'm like, I've never heard of such a thing. So it was just somebody who didn't have empathy, lacked the empathy, didn't know me from, even though I've been there many times before, didn't know me, right? And so when I connected with the store manager, they completely turned that whole situation around. And one of the things they did, and they made a point of that, is they offered me from that moment on an anticipatory customer experience. Like, I can walk in there, they know me by name, they know what it is that I like, they have it ready for me, they know events in my life. They ask about, hey, how are things going with this, or how are things going with that? Even before and now I'm at a point where I ask them, because I know like one of them injured a knee, so I asked, how's that coming along? So it just takes the relationship to a higher level. And so I can relate totally to what you're saying here, Micah. And I just felt the need to chime in, because as somebody who's experienced it personally, I just thought, wow, I can totally gravitate to what you and Rod just said, and what a difference it made for me. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. All right, so I have the next question coming up. And that next question, Rod, I'm actually going to ask you if you could start off with this one. So, there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence these days. I mean, listen, we work for a technology company. Rod and I hear about artificial intelligence all the time. In fact, I would say that a lot of the solutions that Fusion Connect offers has some type of artificial intelligence embedded into the solution. So it's not an uncommon thing for us, but there is some misconceptions, I think, about artificial intelligence. And so, Rod, I'd love for you to start off by helping us here. So, myth about AI and how to take advantage of AI with your agents in the driver's seat. I think that's the key piece here, right? Who's driving the car? So, Rod, if you can kick that off, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I would say the biggest myth out there is that AI is going to eliminate all of the call center jobs, right? So that's just not going to occur. What AI is going to do, it's going to elevate that position so that these contact center agents that you have are going to have to be higher quality. They're going to have to focus on empathy, being there with the customer, and actually taking advantage of a high leverage moment to delight and satisfy those customers. So what we see is that the AI is going to put more information in the agent's hand. So they're going to have more information about who the customer is, like Santi just said. They're going to know their preferences, what they need, what drink do they have, what seat do they want on the plane, et cetera. They're going to have that data up front when they first call in. So it's also going to help not only the customer, but it's also going to help that agent that's in the call center, because now that they have more information at their fingertips, they're not going to be in this situation where they have high anxiety, where that call is just a mystery call. The person calling, they're going to actually know some information about them so that they can focus on being a trusted advisor. And I think that's going to make these call center jobs much better, a richer experience for not only the customer, but also for the employee that's working in this call center environment. So, Mike, I would love to hear your opinion about some of the myths that are out there about AI as well.
Santi, if you could advance the slide, I actually have a visual here.
Oh.
And look, I got, I don't know if you can see him, but I got President Biden.
Oh my goodness.
Between terms, I got him to pose for this.
Right.
Actually not. But so I think about a triangular model of AI or any other high technology. So the three vertices of the triangle, and I have now pretty much exhausted my memory of geometry class. The three vertices are the AI, the agent, and the customer. So these work interactionally is the way I see it. So let's say someone is interested in your company. They're either a prospect or they're an existing customer. So they can start off by working just with the AI. And a good example of this is if you have an AI enhanced or AI powered search bar on your website, which is a great thing to do. It's much better than the old, what should we call them, infrequently asked questions that your web designer put up in 2008 and you may not have updated it. So let's say you have an AI powered search bar. So the customer or prospect is working with AI at first. So they're working with that first vertex of the triangle. Then there's something they either don't understand or they're ready to buy, or for whatever reason, they contact a human being, and that's the next vertex, the agent. Now, what's interesting here is that the AI may not go out of the picture at this point. For, the agent may, as Rod was hinting at, be using AI behind the scenes to make the conversation richer. In fact, this is a way that you can be a generalist agent, but work on very specialized calls. I mean, you don't want to be working a call about, I don't know, how to redo a surgery or something, but you can do more specialized things than you could in the past because the AI can inform you in ways that are very helpful. And also the customer or prospective customer may still be using AI as well. They may still actually be going through that search bar to find out more things. They may be going over to UPS's site to start thinking about how long the delivery will really take. And also, let's don't forget the world's biggest AI is anyone? Anyone?
I know the answer. Google.
Anyone? What is the answer?
Yeah, it's Google.
That's right.
Cool.
So every time you think you're getting Google for free, right? And you sort of are and you sort of aren't. And it's paid for by advertising, but it's also paid for by the fact that every time you identify a little bunny rabbit as being a bunny rabbit or not being a bunny rabbit, you are improving the accuracy of the world's biggest AI. So the customer may still be using the Google or the agent may be as well, but let's hope they're actually using more specialized AI tools. So there you go. And all of this may not happen as well. The customer may only use your self-service AI powered tools. That's also possible. But this is the triangular model I think of.
Yeah, Mike, I totally agree with that. One of the things that we do here at Fusion Connect is we use our AI to guide the employees that are generalists, like you said, into knowing more specific and targeted data so that they can support a customer, like customer size and what products a customer has, so we can actually promote other products that they could use, that they would need to improve their business. So there are, multitude of applications for AI in the customer service industry.
Excellent.
I think that Rod, keep me honest, but I think AI also
Keep him honest,
helps.
Rod.
Keep me honest, Rod. But I believe AI can even give you like the mood sentiment of the customer during their last call.
Yeah, definitely. You can use AI. So there's certain AI functions. So if we're going back and we're looking at a call, we can hear the sentiment and we can hear the tone of a customer, and we can see how they felt during that call using some AI. It's not perfect, right? Like a lot of these things is, like Micah mentioned, Google isn't perfect. You don't get the perfect search every time, but
Right.
we're making modifications. It's getting better day by day. It's like when we talk about the car that can drive you all the way to work, we're getting slightly better with learning more about the customer as we use AI. So it's really just to help a human get better at doing their job so that they can give a more personalized touch.
Yeah, good dialogue. Thank you for that, guys. Micah, I'm going to toss the next question over to you. How's that?
Whoa, is that a
this is
a gameplay?
It is a
Don't
gameplay.
put that up on the jumbotron so the other team can see it.
Well, it's a hefty question because there's some. I think you have to be somewhat. There's some profound thinking here. How do you elevate the human element in your strategy to train and empower your agents to meet customer demands? And that human element, I think, is the critical piece here. And the key word of elevating. I think it's a profound statement. So I'm curious to hear your take on this.
So the classic model of anticipatory customer service or an anticipatory customer experience is a human being who is empathetic, well-trained, knowledgeable, and either in a good mood or able to manage to stay in some simulation of a good mood for the time that they're talking with a customer. So how do you get there? Well, it requires training. It requires ideally proper hiring, or what we could call selection. Now, you don't always get to choose the employees who are working with customers. Ideally, you do. But if you don't, you can still train them for what is called situational empathy. But let me back up. There's two kinds of empathy. There is what's called dispositional empathy, and that is something that not necessarily you're born with, but by the time you're in your early 20s is pretty much fixed as a personality trait. And this is where in hiring, it is to some extent possible to hire more or less empathetic people. However, how important is it? Well, I don't know if it's as important as all that, because any employee or trainee can be trained in what is called situational empathy. And that is even more important here. And that is to learn to pick up on the situation of your customer. So one of my favorite examples, this might be a little long-winded, so I'll try to keep it short. I was at the Zappos call center. They call it the customer love center or something. They have some ridiculous name for everything at Zappos, but it's basically what we would call the contact center. And you know what, I slander there. It's called the customer loyalty team. That's not too ridiculous, but that's what they call it. So there was this young agent. I'm only mentioning her name because it's a little bit relevant. Her name is Madison, and she's working the phone. And this woman calls in, an older woman, and she was calling in, and we know she's older, not necessarily because of how her voice sounds, but because she mentions that she is going to, I forget if it was her granddaughter or her great niece's wedding upcoming, and she had bought two or three pairs of shoes over the internet from Zappos in her narrow size, and not all of them were very uncomfortable. So she was a little worried because this is a day when she's going to need to be on her feet quite a bit. You know, please rise, the bride is coming down, and so forth. So of all those little details I gave you, Madison was like Sherlock Holmes. She picked up on the one detail that mattered, and that was the woman had narrow feet. I would not have picked this up. But the woman had narrow feet. So Madison says, oh, narrows, aren't they the worst? It's almost like our entire shoe industry has conspired against people with narrow feet. My aunt, I don't know, I've never found out if this is true or not. It's one of these details that's too good to check, right? She says, my aunt has narrow feet, and almost every other phone call we have about it, or when we meet for Thanksgiving, we talk about the miseries of her narrow feet. So you could almost audibly hear the customer call in, exhale with relief because someone finally gets it. So after Madison had the woman calm down, she worked with the customer. I think they co-browsed, you know, that technology, which is so great. They co-browsed for a minute, and she was able to find a couple additional pairs that the woman had overlooked on the website that were also narrow but had a better chance of not being a torture fest on this important day. So that is situational empathy. Well, who knows if Madison in her personal life is a nice person or not, but she was able to zero in on, and I'm sure she is, but she was able to zero in on what was important to this woman. So how do you get there? Well, you train, assuming you have the same people who you would have hired otherwise, you train for this. You train them to pick up on cues, and it can be very powerful. What kind of training should this be? Well, before COVID, I would have said, absolutely in-person training. I need to come to your site. I, Micah Solomon, or someone I've delegated has to come to your site. Now I would say that a custom designed e-learning program, which is also something I do, can be very, very effective. And it can be paired with on-site training facilitators who can be actually people on your payroll rather than someone who comes in. And this can be very powerful. Now, once you've trained them for situational empathy, empowerment. So empowerment is like a thing where like the worst company in the world will then sprinkle on some sprinkles on this sundae of garbage, right? Suddenly you're empowered. Like you walk into, and there they are empowered to help you. But the reality is, they're not empowered to work outside of that proverbial box. There are cameras all the time making sure that they follow the script and so forth. So that's not real empowerment. That's really empowerment just to get in trouble. In fact, this great guy, Mark Hoplamazian, who is the president of Hyatt Hotels, he told me this story about how he'd gone to the rebranding, the reflagging of a hotel in Mexico that was now going to be a Hyatt hotel. And he saw this new employee who'd gone through the onboarding, and she was actually crying. And he went up to her and he said, well, what's wrong? And she said, well, Mr. Hoplamazian, I just went through your onboarding and I feel like I just learned 35 things I can be fired for by Hyatt. And Mr. Hoplamazian didn't really know what she was talking about, but then you looked at the onboarding curriculum, and basically maybe it had started out with good intentions, but over time the legal department and compliance and loss control, loss prevention had kind of taken over the onboarding. So now it was all negative. So he threw out the existing onboarding. And even though, you need to have the fire safety and all of that, that's very important, sexual harassment training and so forth. He made sure that what was empathized was that Hyatt was about creating these great moments for customers and that you were empowered to do this. Now, when you're a boss and you've empowered your employees, they're going to make mistakes. And so you need to applaud them for their, let's say, rookie attempts, right? And not shut them down right away, or they'll never use this empowerment again.
So, Mike, I'll pick up on one key thing that you said there because there was a lot there. One of the things that we would do
There's a lot to unpack there. Hey, Rod.
There's a lot to unpack there. But the key thing with the topic of AI and how can it be helpful. So we have employees that we want to be empathetic, but if they're spending all their time searching for the customer data or looking for more information or trying to find out what's going on, they're now frustrated, right? So if the person that's taking your calls is frustrated, they don't have time to be empathetic for someone else because they are feeling the pain themselves. So one of the ways that AI and your systems can help your employees be more empathetic is taking away the pain of being an employee at your company by putting it in their hands, the data that they need to be successful.
Oh, absolutely. So that's fantastic. And that's very well put. And of course, there are other things that are not technological. There's like allowing for childcare issues and so forth, and paying people right. And one thing about Zappos that I think is interesting is in their contact center, there's a technical term for it, but I'm not going to use it because it's just confusing. But they basically have more what I would call breathing space. Instead of overscheduling, they overstaff their contact center, because if you do that, then a call can be longer or shorter, but especially longer. And Madison did have the time to talk with the distressed customer because they did have that breathing space.
Yeah, definitely. Happier employees serve customers in a better way.
Right. And so let's talk about that. So like the cliche, which I 85% agree with, is that if your if your employees are happy, your customers are going to be happy. But I think Rod touched on something, which is if they're happier and they have the tools, then they'll provide better customer service.
Yeah, that's the key. That was a lot to unpack, but that's why I started. That's why I started the question by saying, "Wow, this is going to be like a real profound thought," because there's a lot here, and I thought you guys did a great job at enlightening us on this question. Well, I have one last question. I'm going to throw this last question over to Rod. Rod, what are proactive steps to improve your customer communication strategy in order to, and these are the words we're using for today's webinar, surprise and delight. And they may sound similar, but they're not, right? Surprise and delight. So how do we do that?
Okay, so it's pretty simple, and I think Mike has touched on it a ton in this conversation. The key to the strategy is getting more targeted data about your customers and leveraging it in the way that the customer wants you to in their preferred channels, right? It's getting the data, having the data at the agent's hand, and then leveraging it when you're talking to the customers, right? So for example, if you have a customer that calls in all the time to reset their passwords, and they constantly call in to reset their passwords, up front, when they're calling in, you can prompt them to reset their passwords in your IVR.
Like, oh, hey, you lost your password again, didn't you?
Right. You lost your password again. And then also, when they finally get on the phone with the agent can do the screen share, show them how to reset their password, and talk them through it. And then you can prompt the agent to make sure that they remind the person and say something positive and encourage them. Now, one other way where it's really important is when customers call in to pay their bills. We get a ton of calls where customers just want to call in and pay their bills. A lot of them don't know that our portals are really, really powerful for doing that. They can pay their bill via the portal, have that information up front in the IVR, and help them through that. Other ways to do this is if we have customers that like to talk via chat or text, right? They open a ticket, they want to do something, they communicate with us, and then we contact them back via text. Micah, that's really powerful because it shows that we met them where they were instead of shoehorning them into the Fusion Connect way. Because the Fusion Connect way is to meet you where you are and try to provide like an excellent customer experience. And we anticipated up front by saying, hey, last time this person called in, they wanted to talk to us via text. Next time we talk to that same person, we talk to them via text. Sorry, Mike, I think you were getting ready to add some data there. I'm sorry if I cut you off.
Probably not. Probably not, but absolutely. Text is very, very effective. T-Mobile did this pilot program without ever announcing it. They added, of course, it's magenta, right? But they added this magenta button on their app that just said, message with us. And an extraordinary number of customers took them up on this. And this is because we use it in our personal lives so much. But the point is that we are meeting them where they want to be. And though I think when I started to raise my hand, or maybe just my eyebrows, was when you said, well, we should say on the IVR to use the portal, and we should tell it, yeah, you should, but you don't want to push it too hard, because if you have someone on the phone, that may really be the way they want to interact, and you don't want them to feel like
Exactly.
fobbing you off. So that's a little touchy. We also want to make sure, do we really want to surprise people? We certainly want to delight them, but sometimes we don't want to surprise them. It depends. When something's very serious, we want to probably play it pretty straight. When something can be a little more playful is when the consequences don't involve privacy or safety or health and so forth. So the delight we absolutely want, the surprise sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And so on that point about the, we want them to call in, one of the things that Fusion is constantly doing is we're upgrading our portals. So we're updating our mobile apps. We're updating a lot of our tools that customers have access to. So one of the things we like to do is make sure we advertise that, sending out billing announcements, put it on our IVR. We definitely do not want to deflect the person that can't reset their password via the portal and they need to talk to a person because they just feel better talking to a human. But if we can help those people that, I didn't know that your new mobile app, I can pay my bill, reset my portal, check on my trouble tickets, and chat with you via that mobile portal. Oh, wow, I didn't know you guys had that. So I want to make sure I'm giving that information to our customers because it's one of the things we heard 3 years ago in a lot of our surveys. Hey, you don't have the mobile capability that some of your competitors do. And now we're better. Now we're better than our competitors in that area. So I love to tout that, every chance I get. So yeah, definitely, Mike. I don't want to deflect the call. I want to basically make sure that people understand my full capabilities as a full service, multi-channel provider. So.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Point taken.
So that was the time that I was surprised and delighted. I drove through a Starbucks drive-through, which I don't do because I don't like drive-throughs. I like going into a store and having that experience. But for whatever reason, I drove through the drive-through, and when I get up to the menu and the speaker and everything else, the person on the other side says, "Welcome back, Santi," and I'm like, "How that happen?" So in my mind, being in the technology field that I am, I'm here thinking, oh, they must have some kind of facial recognition AI that is giving them information from, right, who knows, right? And so on. I later find out that no, it wasn't that fancy. It's just that the person who recognized me had served me before and they just remembered my name, which is amazing because, I mean, they see thousands of people. And it wasn't a place that I frequent much, right? But that would be that. So I was surprised, number one, whoa, and delighted because they were welcoming me back, and it was great. What a great experience in the drive-thru, right? So if nobody's thought about this yet, we should patent it, right?
No. So wait, Santi, it's out there. AI allows us to,
there you go.
Get information. They can scan your tag. They can look at your previous orders. They can get the name, and because it's really no one wants it to be a transactional situation. They want it to be a relationship opportunity. So you're trying to get that information. Fusion Connect is doing that. We're answering the phone. Hey, hello, Shanti. Thanks for calling us. How can I help you? Right. So we're out there, being first to market with that. A lot of companies are out there doing that right now, but it's a big thing. Everything should be about the relationship and not really be transactional, because that is how you delight the customers.
And here I thought I had the next greatest business plan.
Nope.
AI infused drive-thrus. Okay.
Yeah, we got AI infused drive-thrus now, and actually awesome. Fusion Connect is helping customers with that. By providing them some of the services they need to make that possible right now. Not awesome. To sound like a commercial, but yeah,
that's amazing.
We're out there helping customers do that.
That's amazing. I love to hear that we're innovating with customers, right? Because that's the whole key, is to innovate together with your customers. So that's thanks for sharing that. Yeah, right, folks. Well, we're coming towards the end of this presentation, but I did want I do want to take a moment to bounce some questions off you that we have. I got some questions that were sent to me here. And so I'm going to ask the first question here. Actually, it is a funny one. It's funny. It's not funny. It's just comical that they asked this. But Micah, it's for you. It's so Micah, they want to know, which of your books do you recommend reading first, and where can I get a copy?
When you said comical, I was wondering if it's going to be, are you wearing shorts? Well, that is a very nice question. The most recent one, Ignore Your Customers and They'll Go Away. The Simple Playbook for Delivering the Ultimate Customer Service. I had to read it because it's a very long subject. This is the newest one, and I'm quite fond of it. It's also very yellow, so it jumps out. It also has this classic or even retro telephone on it. I'll tell you this, my son is Gen Z, and I was worried about this when I got the proof. And I said, I think he was like 15 at the time. I said, do you guys even know what this is? And he said, oh, Dad, don't worry. We've all seen those old movies.
Yeah.
So I recommend that. You can buy it wherever you, at any high quality bookseller, or, you can buy it from Voldemort if you want. You can also get 3 free chapters. 3 on my website. You just have to be really good at spelling biblical names. So my website is micahsolomon.com, MicahSolomon.com.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Micah.
MicahSolomon.com.
MicahSolomon.com. There's another question here. I'm gonna ask Rod if you can answer this one. Are there examples of repetitive or routine tasks where AI doesn't work? That's a very, very good question. And there's a second part to this question: is any examples of anecdotes that you can share? So anecdotes, sorry. So are there examples of repetitive or routine tasks where AI does not work, and some examples of those?
Okay, so Micah touched on it when he said security. So that's one of the things where there are a lot of routine things that you can do with security where you want to be careful not to over depend on the AI, because the hackers are getting better, right? They're going to stay one step ahead. So often we want to make sure that there's a human element, multi-factor. So that's one area where we see that. And, I don't want to give any examples on security because that would probably be too much, but we also have examples of where AI doesn't often work when we have situations where customers are calling in. For example, one company has multiple sites and they have multiple IT people, and those people are calling in. So we don't want to just tag the company, right? Like we have big customers like Shake Shack, et cetera, and they have multiple stores. We don't want a situation where we answer the phone for that customer that has multiple stores and multiple managers the same way. So we often want to say, hey, don't answer it as, just John. Answer it as, thanks for calling Shake Shack. Thanks. What do you call them for? And we work with them from there.
Good. So Madison, who is one of our attendees, actually shared with us in the chat. Hey, Madison.
And former Starbucks employee.
Starbucks employee. And so she said it was their job to remember their customers and their orders. So listen, there was no AI involved. That was pure human intellect, but it blew me away. So good job there. There's a question also in the chat by Mark. How do you see customer success strategies evolving as the generation of decision makers and users change, i.e. millennials, Gen Z, et cetera? So how do you see this evolving, these strategies?
Well, Rod's kind of the customer success person, so you want to start?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the customers are going to dictate where we go. So that's the key point. You don't want to shoehorn them, right? So you want to take the steps that the customers want. So like gamers, they're used to a certain way of communicating. So we want to meet them where they are. And a lot of those people are coming into their own and now becoming the directors at companies that I'm working with. So like Micah said about having that phone on the side of his book, right? You want to actually make sure you're listening to the customer. So the way it's going to evolve is we're going to keep listening to customers, figuring out how they want to be communicated with, and communicate with them that way. We're not going to dictate it for them, right? That's the key mistake a company can make, is trying to tell them exactly how to do business.
That's a very good answer. Thank you for that. That's awesome. I got another question sent to me privately here. It says, how do you see companies struggling to deliver anticipatory customer service? What are the pitfalls to avoid? Mike, I'm hoping maybe you can answer that one for us.
Well, most of them aren't even struggling to do it, so that would be the first problem. The ones that are, they can try to do it, but not really invest in the resources, and the resources mean enough people, the right tools, the right way to survey their customers to find out what is wanted. So there's many things that can go wrong. Just to go back to the Starbucks example with Madison, uh, you can't do something like that if you don't give people a little more time and cheer them on when they get it right, and kind of good-naturedly laugh when they get it wrong. You can't just say, "Hey, Madison and colleagues, you have to remember everyone. That's it." Right? So I guess being cheap or excessively optimistic about how these things can be done without spending any money, without spending the time training, would be some of the pitfalls. Also, and I don't want to hit too hard on this, there are times when anticipatory, you have to be a little subtle. Seth Godin, the great marketing expert, said that these surprises, like if someone, what's this example? It's a horrifying example. It was like, we saw you've been staying at a lot of hotels lately. Here's a free coupon for a STD check or something like that. You don't want to use information that you shouldn't have to surprise people. Or I think Santi would have been kind of horrified if he had found out, and I'm not saying they do, that Starbucks was using a license plate identification, right? Because that's something only really law enforcement should be getting into. So there are things to be careful about being anticipatory. Also, you can be anticipatory, but be very rote. You know how the salesperson you're talking with has read in Dale Carnegie that the sound of your voice is the sweetest sound in the world. Not your voice, sorry. And so they'll say, "Well, Micah," or "Well, Mr. Solomon," and they just stick it in every single blank, and they probably are misspelling it as well. So these things can be done in a little bit of a ham-fisted way, and you won't get the results of your own.
Perfect. Thank you, Micah. There's one last question, making sure I'm not missing anybody. No, I think we got everybody. There's one last question here. And this is it's a call center related question. So with the employee experience becoming increasingly important to retain top talent, can you share additional insight on how investing in a modern contact center is not only a customer experience win, but also boost employee engagement? Rod, honestly, I think that question is probably best answered by you, seeing how you pretty much run our contact center. So do you need me to read that again, or did you catch all that? It's a long,
Yeah,
it's a
I think
long
I
question.
caught all of it. So basically, the key gist of it is, we invest in the contact center, which is an investment in the employees, which gives them a better experience as an employee at the company. That is the key thing. So when you're going out and you're looking at a new contact center tool, you're basically saying you want to invest in people, process, tools, and you want to say you want to invest in the people, and this tool is an investment in the people. So one of the things it allows you to do is get rid of a lot of their repetitive tasks that they don't like doing, that they don't want to do for the customer, and get that done by the machine, by the tool, so that they can focus on engaging with the customer, right? Like, you want to make the customer service agent's job customer service. You want them to focus on the customer, focus on the client, focus on being a trusted advisor, and you're going to have to invest in a system that allows them to do that. Or you're going to get left behind. So Fusion Connect, we recently invested in that. We are constantly reinvesting in that. But you want to make sure that the agents have the best tools available, the most information available, targeted data about the customer. You want to make sure that you're giving them the training that Mike is providing, where they now know how to provide proper empathy. So you give them the tools necessary to do their job better. And that's the way you invest in them. And that's, because it's not just going to be AI and systems. You have to invest in them as a person by giving them the tools necessary to be successful in their job.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Well, I think that does it. Micah, Rod, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. This was an awesome exchange. It was a lot of fun to do. I'm glad I was able to partake. And I want to thank all of you who were able to participate live. Some great questions. Madison, thank you for the Starbucks insight. That was wonderful. Thank you for that. This is going to be recorded, and it will be at some point made available on the Fusion Connect website. So we'll send out a follow-up link where you can replay this and share it. Something to note, our team, Fusion Connect, we will be at the Gartner IT Symposium and Expo the week of October 17th. So please, if you're going to be at the Gartner IT Symposium, this is going to be in Orlando, Florida, please stop by. We'll be at booth, stop by, booth 1148. It's going to be in the digital workplace section. And of course, you can always just reach out to us on fusionconnect.com or LinkedIn. Thank you both, folks. This does conclude our webinar for today. Thank you and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Micah. Thanks, team. Bye.